Ethan Cruz hadn't stepped foot in the house on Riverbend Lane in nearly a year not since the funeral. But now, as he pulled into the gravel driveway, the house stood like a monument to everything that had gone wrong. A two-story craftsman with a wraparound porch and gleaming wood siding that looked too perfect, too curated. It wasn't his brother's house anymore. It was hers. He killed the engine and sat still for a moment. The October wind whipped dead leaves across the windshield. On the passenger seat, his phone buzzed again. Another message from Celeste. "Thanks again for doing this. Noah gets anxious when I'm gone. You're a lifesaver." He didn't reply. He never did. The key felt alien in his palm as he walked to the door, boots crunching against the stone path no doubt recently redone. Celeste's touch was everywhere. She'd only lived here with Caleb for 3 years before his sudden fall from the second-story balcony accidental, the police had said. The railing gave way. These things happen. But Ethan had known his brother since birth. Caleb didn't lean on things that wobbled. Caleb didn't drink. And Caleb never worked on the house without a safety harness. The front door opened with a soft click. The smell of lavender and lemon cleaner hit him immediately. The kind of scent that was sprayed on for showings, not for living. A soft bark drew his eyes downward. "Nico," he said softly. The golden retriever padded over from the living room. A little grayer around the muzzle, a little slower in the legs, but still the same sweet dog Caleb had raised from a pup. Ethan crouched and rubbed behind his ears. "Hey, buddy, you hungry?" The kitchen looked like a showroom marble counters, white cabinets, a built-in espresso machine that probably cost more than Ethan's truck. On the fridge, a laminated feeding chart hung beside a calendar covered in neatly color-coded notes. 7:30 a.m., 6:30 p.m., Nico. 1.5 cups, backyard for 20 minutes, refill water. Celeste was thorough. She always had been. Ethan filled the bowl, set it down, and watched Nico eat. The quiet in the house was unnatural. Caleb's presence had always been loud in its own way, open books left on counters, muddy boots by the back door, half-done projects in the garage. This house didn't just feel clean, it felt erased. Then came the sound, faint but sharp, scratch, scratch. Ethan froze. Nico paused mid-bite, ears alert, staring up at the ceiling. "What was that?" Ethan whispered. Another scratch, rhythmic, like fingernails on wood. It came from upstairs. Ethan's hand went instinctively to his beltware. For years, a service weapon had always rested. But now, there was only muscle memory. He grabbed a kitchen knife from the drawer instead. The stairs creaked under his boots. Nico followed, tail tucked low. The sound led them past the master bedroom, past the guest room, to a door Ethan didn't remember. It was narrow, painted to match the wall in old storage room, maybe. But the scratching came from behind it. "Hello?" he called. No answer. The knob was locked. Ethan pulled out the keyring Celeste had given him. 5 keys. He tried each one. The third clicked. The door opened with a reluctant creak, revealing a narrow room with no windows. The air smelled of sweat and mildew. A single bulb swung gently from the ceiling, and on a stained twin mattress on the floor, Noah. Ethan's nephew, 13, looked impossibly small. His skin was ashen, lips cracked, cheeks hollow. Bruises ringed his wrists and neck. He didn't stir. "Noah!" Ethan dropped to his knees beside him. He pressed 2 fingers to the boy's neck. Weak pulse, shallow breathing, but alive. Ethan's hands moved on instinct. Phone out. Dialing. 911. What's your emergency? This is Ethan Cruz. I need an ambulance at 74 Riverbend Lane. 13-year-old male, unconscious, possibly malnourished, locked in a room. Is he breathing? Barely. Stay on the line, sir. Ethan didn't stay on the line. He was already checking Noah's airway, tilting his head back gently, counting compressions. 30. 2 breaths. 30 more. His training kicked in, like second nature, buried under years of civilian life. Noah's chest was too still. His bones felt like twigs under Ethan's hands. But then, a breath. The boy's eyes fluttered open. Dry, scared, but focused. "Uncle Ethan." "I'm here," Ethan said, voice thick. "You're gonna be okay, kiddo." The front door banged open downstairs. Footsteps. Voices. Then a woman's voice rising over the noise. "Up here," Ethan shouted. Paramedics flooded the room, moving with efficient chaos. They asked questions, took vitals, started fluids. A stretcher rolled in. Ethan stepped back, blood pounding in his ears. A woman in a long gray coat approached badge around her neck. Mid-40s. Sharp eyes. Detective Avery Boone, Helena PD, she said. What happened? Ethan told her everything. The dog. The key. The scratching. The room. He kept his voice flat. Clear. Like he was writing a report. Where are the parents? She asked. Father's dead. Mother's out of town. Your relationship to the boy? I'm his uncle. Do you know why someone would do this? Ethan looked her square in the eye. I have my suspicions, but I don't have proof. Boone didn't press. You'll need to come down to the station for a statement. I figured. And the dog? I came to feed him. He needs care. Boone studied him for a moment. We'll arrange something. Ethan nodded, watching as the paramedics wheeled Noah out of the room, down the hall, and into the waiting ambulance. As the sirens faded, the weight of what he'd just discovered settled on Ethan's shoulders like a slab of concrete. Celeste Monroe hadn't just lied to him. She'd locked her own son in a windowless room and walked away, and she was trying to make it look like his fault. He didn't have evidence. Not yet. But what he did have was motive. Not to hurt a child, but to uncover the truth. And the truth was no longer quiet. It was burning. The police station in downtown Helena was small, quiet, and filled with the scent of disinfectant and burnt coffee. Ethan sat in interview room 2, arms crossed, coat draped over the back of the chair, trying not to show how little sleep he'd had. The last time he'd been in a room like this, he was the one asking questions. Now he was the one answering them. Detective Avery Boone returned with a clipboard, followed by a younger officer, Detective Rowan Hill, probably mid-30s, with a restless energy and eyes too eager. Boone took the seat opposite Ethan while Hill paced. Let's go over this again, Boone said calmly. You say Celeste Monroe asked you to feed the dog while she was out of town. Yes. 3 days ago, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. What did she say? That she was headed to some spa in North Carolina. Said she needed a break. Asked if I could feed Nico for a few days. And you agreed? Ethan nodded. I didn't want to, but I hadn't seen Noah in a while. She said he was staying with friends. I was suspicious, but you agreed anyway. Hill cut in. Even though you don't trust her? Ethan didn't respond. Hill stepped closer. Why? Because that's my nephew. Boone held up a hand to stop her partner from pressing further. Tell us what happened when you got to the house. I fed the dog. Then I heard something upstairs. A scratching sound. Nico reacted to it. I followed it to a locked door I didn't recognize. You tried the key? I did. One of the ones she gave me worked. And inside? Noah. On a mattress. Weak. Unconscious. Bruises on his neck and wrists. I called 911. Why do you think he was locked in that room? Boone asked, calm and neutral. Because someone didn't want him found. Hill leaned forward. Someone like you? Ethan met his eyes. Is that what you think? We're asking questions, Boone said. Standard procedure. Hill added. We found a prescription bottle in the kitchen. Your name was on it. A sedative. Diazepam. Ethan blinked. That's not mine. I don't take anything. It was prescribed by a Dr. Sanders at Helena Wellness Group. I've never been to Helena Wellness Group. Then how did your name end up on the label? Ethan didn't answer. But his gut had already delivered the answer. Celeste. Boone flipped the folder closed. We'll need your fingerprints and a DNA swab, just to eliminate you from any trace evidence. I understand, Ethan said, offering his hands. A technician entered, did the swabs, and left. Boone remained quiet for a moment, then asked, Do you know where Celeste Monroe is right now? Ethan shook his head. She said she'd be back Monday. She checked into a spa outside Asheville, North Carolina, Hill said. Under the name Claire Morton. The reservation was made 2 weeks ago. So this wasn't spontaneous, Ethan muttered. She planned this. She also left behind a recording, Boone said. Found it on the kitchen counter. We'd like you to hear it. She pressed play on a small digital recorder. Celeste's voice poured into the room, calm and composed. Noah, sweetie. If anything happens while I'm gone, just stay in your room, okay? Uncle Ethan's, well, he's not always himself. He gets angry sometimes. I don't want you to get hurt. Just stay quiet. I'll be back soon. I love you. The message clicked off. Silence filled the space between them. Ethan leaned forward slowly. That was staged. You know that, right? She left it in plain sight, Boone admitted. Almost too convenient. Because it is convenient. She's framing me. Hill folded his arms. Do you have proof? Not yet. Then until we do, you're a person of interest. Ethan felt the tension knot in his chest. She killed my brother, he said finally. Boone glanced up. That's a serious accusation. Not an accusation. A belief. You think Caleb Cruz didn't fall by accident? I know he didn't. He didn't work on second floors without safety gear. And he sure as hell didn't drink on ladders. Autopsy said, "Oh, .10 back." Hill offered. A couple of beers. Then someone gave him those beers. Boone set her pen down. You'll need to stay in town while we investigate. Don't leave Helena. I'm not going anywhere. As he left the station, the chill outside bit through his coat. The sky over Montana had turned a slate gray, promising early snow. Across the street, a reporter with a camera crew spotted him and tried to cross the road. Ethan ducked into an alley and slipped behind a diner, avoiding them. He drove back to his apartment in silence. Noah was in the hospital now, safe, for the moment. But Celeste had played this game too well. She'd planted pills, left recordings, invented just enough of a backstory to make the idea believable. The ex-agent with a temper, the loner uncle who never had a family of his own. It would stick unless he broke it. Inside the apartment, he turned on the lamp by the window and pulled out his old military file. Then he flipped through a contacts notebook, long since yellowed, until he found the name he needed. Maya Ellison, former military police. Last known post, Missoula, Montana. Now working in Child Protective Services. He sent a message. It's Ethan. From Kunar. I need help. Urgent. Life or death. Less than a minute later, a reply pinged back. Meet me at the Osprey Diner, 9 p.m. Ethan stared at the screen. If anyone could help him navigate this stormand, navigate Celestite, was Maya. She'd spent years investigating abuse cases. She knew how predators operated. And she didn't scare easily. The Osprey Diner hadn't changed since Ethan left Helena a decade ago. Still smelled like burnt hash browns and coffee grounds. Still had the same wobbly-legged booths and flickering neon sign above the counter that read, "Open always." Maya Ellison sat in the corner booth by the window, her back to the wall, eyes scanning the room, just like she had in Kandahar. Still sharp, still unflinking. She gave Ethan a brief nod as he slid across from her. Long time, she said. Too long. She gestured toward the coffee mug in front of him. You want your own, or you want mine? I'm not here for coffee. Bullshit, Maya muttered, waving over the server. He'll take it black. When the waitress left, her expression hardened. So, Celeste Monroe. Ethan blinked. That's it? Just her name? I've seen her name before, Maya said. 2 years ago. She showed up in a protective services report. Custody case. Ugly one. Stepmother claimed the birth mother was abusing the kid. Bruises, burns, neglect. What happened? Birth mother got arrested. Stepmother got custody. You think she set it up? I didn't back then, Maya admitted. But I do now, especially since the kid emmetied 6 months later. Allergic reaction. Peanut oil in a stir-fry. Supposedly accidental. But Emma had a laminated allergy card she wore around her neck. Everyone at her school knew. Her teachers, the babysitter, the neighbor. And no one investigated further? Not really, Maya said grimly. By the time red flags started going up, Sable sorry, Celeste had already relocated to Oregon. Married again, Ethan sat back. You have all this documented? I kept copies. I keep copies of anything that doesn't sit right. You always did. She gave him a tight smile. What's going on with Noah? He was locked in a room, Ethan said. No food, barely water. Celeste told me he was with friends for the weekend. Then leaves me the key and a recording framing me in advance. Classic setup. She planted a sedative in the kitchen with my name on the label. That's bold. She knows I won't let this go. Maya sipped her coffee, then slid a folder across the table. I did some digging after I got your message. That name Celeste Monroe pulls up more than one identity. She used the name Rebecca Blythe in California, involved in another custody case there. Similar pattern. How many? 3 confirmed, 2 suspected, 1 dead husband, 1 dead stepdaughter, and 1 missing boyfriend named Vance Keller. Missing? Disappeared 4 months ago. His car was found abandoned near the Columbia River. Keys still inside. No body. Ethan's jaw clenched. That's where she dumped him. Can't prove that. Yet. Maya reached into the folder again. But I found something else. When Caleb Cruz, your brother, died, a life insurance payout of $750,000 went to Celeste. She also inherited controlling interest in the construction business. She sold the company 3 months ago, Ethan said. I just found out last week. Big money. All neat and legal. On paper. But dirty underneath. Maya leaned in. I think she's a pattern predator. Finds men with financial assets and children. Gains control. Eliminates obstacles. Frames anyone who gets in her way. She framed me, Ethan said. But Noah's alive. For now, Maya said flatly. The words hit Ethan like a stone in the gut. She doesn't need him anymore, Maya continued. He's the last loose end. And if she thinks you're a threat, she'll tighten the noose fast. I need to protect him. Then you need to move faster. They sat in silence as the waitress refilled their mugs. Maya pulled out a second folder. Here's something else you should know. Celeste isn't just clever. She's careful. When she moved to Montana, she legally changed her name from Rebecca Marsh to Celeste Monroe. That filing was notarized and approved in a small town where no one asked questions. She created a new life, Ethan murmured. A polished one. The grieving widow. The polished yoga, instructor type. She blends, she manipulates, and she keeps records. Records? She's obsessive. I've seen it. Her documents are always perfect. Financials, schedules. She tracks people like a spreadsheet. Ethan frowned. If she tracks everything, maybe she left something behind. Where? My brother's garage. It was his space. She never liked being in there. If he knew something, if he suspected her, he would have left something for me. That's the kind of man Caleb was. Then go, Maya said. Tonight, before someone else does. Ethan hesitated. Boone and Hill are watching me. I saw a black Crown Vic parked down the block. Don't go out the front door, Maya said. Go out the roof, like we used to in Fallujah. Ethan smirked. Still got the old moves? She asked. I'm rusty. Rusty still works, she replied. He finished the coffee, stood, and took the folders. Thanks, Maya. You owe me a drink after this. And not some back alley vigilante beer, a real one. Inside a bar. With live people. You got it. She caught his arm before he walked away. And Ethan? Yeah? Be careful. She's not just framing you. She's studying you. She knows what makes you angry. She knows your file. She's counting on your temper to finish what she started. He nodded slowly. Then, I'll do the one thing she won't expect. What's that? I'll stay calm. Ethan had spent years learning how to read silence. In interrogation rooms, it told him who was about to lie. In the desert, it warned of ambush. And now, standing beside the Missouri River at dusk, silence told him something had been left behind. Celeste had come here. The Fort Clancy boat launch was remote, windblown, and nearly abandoned. The trees lining the river were already losing their color, the leaves brittle with cold. The boat dock groaned as it swayed in place. A couple of beer cans floated in the shallows. He crouched at the water's edge, staring at the mud-streaked footprints barely visible on the concrete slope. The report from Maya had listed this location as the last known place Vance Keller's car had been spotted abandoned. Keys inside, wallet on the seat. Suicide? Hardly. Ethan knew predators cleaned up after themselves, and Celeste Monroe was nothing if not meticulous. A sound broke the quiet, a soft shuffle of gravel behind him. He turned quickly, hand slipping inside his coat where his concealed pocketknife sat. But the woman who stood by the tree line wasn't a threat. She was weathered, maybe late 60s, with gray-streaked hair pulled into a bun and deep, sunken eyes. She wore a wool coat and hiking boots, and carried an envelope in her hand. "You're Ethan Cruz?" she said. "I am." "I'm Martha Keller," she said, Vance's mother. Ethan straightened. "Thank you for meeting me. I wasn't sure you'd come. I almost didn't." Her voice was rough, as if scraped from too many years of unsaid truths. "I told myself Vance got what he deserved, that he chose bad company. And now?" She held up the envelope. "Now I think he wanted to get out and she didn't let him." Martha walked past him toward the water. Her gaze lingered on the dock. "Vance called me 3 days before he vanished," she said. "Said he was scared, that she was planning to disappear him the same way she did the others. He gave you names? Number. But he said something strange. He said she wasn't just trying to get rid of him. She was building a story and he was supposed to be the villain." Ethan's jaw tensed. "I think," Martha continued, "he meant she was going to make it look like he killed someone. Maybe even Caleb. Then, what happened? He said she promised him money, a new life. Instead, she drugged him and took him here." Ethan glanced around the woods behind them. "There's no security out here. No witnesses." "She didn't need a witness," Martha said quietly. "She just needed a current. Vance couldn't swim." She handed him the envelope. I've had this for months. Didn't know what to do with it. I was afraid no one would believe me. But then I saw the news. About you. About Noah. And I realized this won't stop unless someone fights back. Ethan opened the envelope. Inside were photos of Celeste and Vance at a motel outside Missoula. Arm in arm, intimate. A signed check for $50,000 from Celeste Monroe to Vance Keller, dated one day before Caleb's death. And most Dominga handwritten letter from Vance. The ink was smudged, the handwriting uneven, but the message was unmistakable. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Celeste Monroe killed her husband. I helped stage it. I thought we'd get the money and run. But she lied. She's done this before. She uses people. She's going to blame me if anything goes wrong. Don't let her. Don't let her hurt anyone else. Ethan read it twice, then folded it with trembling hands. She killed him, he said. I believe she did, Martha replied. But belief doesn't mean much in a courtroom. No, Ethan agreed. But this, he held up the envelope, is a start. As he turned to leave, Martha spoke again. She's not just a killer, Mr. Cruz. She's an artist. Ethan frowned. She paints reality the way she wants people to see it, Martha explained. Takes the ugliest truths and brushes over them until they're so beautiful, no one looks twice. Back at his apartment, Ethan spread everything out on the kitchen table. Maya's files, Martha's envelope, the recording Celeste left, and the police reports from Caleb's fall. He connected the dots. Motive: Caleb's life insurance and full control of the construction business. Method: accidental death with signs of alcohol. Manipulation: sedative with Ethan's name. A recorded warning from Celeste. Pattern: multiple marriages, dead children, missing associates, all tied to her. This wasn't just about Noah anymore. This was a pattern of targeted elimination, always ending in profit or custody. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Mr. Cruz? Said a soft female voice. This is Sarah Kim from Montana Child Protection Services. I've been speaking with Noah. Ethan stood up straight. How is he? He's stable. And more than Thaith's talking. Ethan's heart thudded. What did he say? Enough to confirm he was drugged and locked in intentionally. He remembers his mother giving him juice and telling him not to resist sleep. He also says she told him not to trust you. That you were dangerous. Ethan closed his eyes. She really went all the way. Yes. But here's the thing, he doesn't believe her anymore. He says you saved his life. Ethan swallowed hard. We've arranged for a supervised visit, Sarah said. Tomorrow morning, if you're willing. I'll be there. Ohan, Mr. Cruz? Yes? I think we're going to need your help, not just for Noah, but for all the other kids like him who don't have someone to fight for them. Ethan looked down at the stack of evidence, and for the first time in a year, he felt it. Clarity. Purpose. The fire that had gone cold was burning again. The waiting room at Sacred Mercy Children's Hospital was painted in soft blues and grays, but it couldn't mask the tension in Ethan's chest. He sat on a vinyl chair, one knee bouncing involuntarily. Outside, snow flurries began to gather, dancing on the hospital windows. It was Montana's way of reminding people how fast things could freeze over. He hadn't seen Noah since the night he pulled him from that locked room. Now, the boy was ready to speak. To the world. Mr. Cruz? He stood as Sarah Kim appeared in the hallway, a legal pad tucked beneath one arm. She smiled gently. He's ready for you, she said. Alone? I'll be in the corner of the room, just in case. Ethan nodded and followed her. Noah's room was small but warm, with a view of the Pine Hills behind the hospital. The boy sat up in bed, a laptop open beside him, headphones tangled in his blanket. His skin had regained color. There were still shadows under his eyes, but they looked less like bruises and more like memories now. When he saw Ethan, he smiled. Uncle Ethan. Ethan approached carefully. Hey kid, you cut your hair. Ethan chuckled. Figured I should try to look respectable. I'm told court judges like that. Are we going to court? Looks like it. Good, Noah said softly. I want to tell them everything. Ethan pulled the visitor's chair closer. Then let's start here, just between us. Noah's hands fidgeted with the blanket. He looked over at Sarah, who gave a reassuring nod. I remember her telling me it was just a game, he said, that I needed to help protect her, that you were angry, that you hated her. She said if I stayed quiet, everything would be okay. Ethan's jaw clenched. Did she ever hurt you before that? She didn't hit me, Noah said quickly. She just Ignored me. Said I was a distraction. Said Dad spoiled me. What about the drink she gave you? Noah nodded. It was orange juice. She said it would help me sleep. I got dizzy right away. I don't remember going into the room. I just woke up there. Ethan exchanged a glance with Sarah. What else do you remember? He asked gently. She had a recorder on the table, Noah said. I heard her recording that message, the one where she said you were dangerous. Ethan inhaled slowly. She said she needed to make it believable, Noah added. That people had to believe she was scared for me. Sarah leaned forward. Why do you think she wanted people to think that? Noah looked down. So she could get rid of you. There it was. Clear, coherent, uncoached. Sarah scribbled something on her pad. I want to live with Uncle Ethan, Noah said. Not because I hate her, but because I don't feel safe with her anymore. You won't have to go back, Ethan said, reaching over and gripping the boy's hand. I promise. Sarah stood. We'll begin formal testimony with the state attorney tomorrow. If it goes well, a judge will issue a protection order by the end of the week. And the custody hearing? Ethan asked. Already scheduled for Friday, she said. But now, it won't be a debate. The facts are falling into place. That evening, Maya called. She's moving. Ethan sat upright in his apartment. Celeste? She checked out of the spa in Asheville, left before dawn, took the back roads. A traffic camera picked her up near Roanoke, alone. Where's she going? We think Portland. Or maybe even Canada. Is she armed? No idea. But she's running scared. You've exposed too much. I ran the documents from Vance's mother past the federal task force. They're interested. Suddenly very interested. Ethan stood and began pacing. Do we go public? Maya's voice was steady. You need to. Tell your side before she spins another. The next day, Ethan stood in front of a bank of cameras and reporters outside the courthouse. Behind him, Maya stood with folded arms and a stack of carefully prepared files. Sarah Kim was to his right, with the hospital's chief physician standing by. I never thought I'd be here, Ethan began, voice echoing off the stone walls. I'm a former federal agent, a soldier, a man who's lived by a code of duty, responsibility, and truth. But sometimes truth is buried beneath lies that are beautifully crafted. He held up the envelope Martha had given him. This is one of those lies, and inside this envelope is the truth. He walked the crowd through the financial trail, the missing man, the prescription fraud, the recorded manipulation, and finally, Noah's voice. A pre-recorded video played behind him on a screen, Noah's face partially blurred for privacy. The boy's words rang out clear. My mom told me to say Uncle Ethan was dangerous, but he saved my life. I trust him. I want to live with him, and I want people to know the truth. Reporters began calling out questions. Microphones waved. Camera shutters clicked like gunfire. Mr. Cruz, are you pressing charges? Mr. Cruz, do you believe Celeste Monroe is a serial offender? Ethan held up a hand. I'm not here for revenge, I'm here for justice, and to protect my family. That night, the news broke wide. Former federal agent accuses widow of orchestrated crimes. Multiple deaths reopened across 3 states. Celeste Monroe, named as person of interest in federal investigation. And then, the next morning, breaking. Celeste Monroe apprehended outside Spokane, trying to cross into Canada with forged documents. Ethan stood in his living room, watching the news anchor speak with disbelief. In her possession, the anchor said, were over $60,000 in cash, 4 passports, a vial of prescription sedatives, and what authorities are calling a kill list detailing custody cases and financial estates from previous marriages. The anchor paused. This morning, the state of Montana officially dropped all charges against Ethan Cruz. He is no longer a suspect. Ethan exhaled. It was over. Almost. The courtroom was small, just a modest space in the Helena County Courthouse with polished oak benches, a ceiling fan that hummed overhead, and windows that looked out onto the snowy Montana hills. But to Ethan, it felt like the most important room he'd ever stood in. He sat at the petitioner's table in a clean shirt and a gray jacket borrowed from Clem, his old welding mentor, who gave him a wink from the back row. Maya was there too, leaning against the rear wall, arms crossed, an expression like granite. Beside her sat Sarah Kim, clipboard in hand. Noah sat next to Ethan, hands clasped nervously in his lap. On the opposite side, Celeste Monroe was not present. Her attorney gray-suited and visibly uncomfortable sat alone, surrounded by empty chairs and the scent of a client who knew she'd already lost. The judge, a woman in her early 50s with silver-streaked hair and clear, no-nonsense eyes, scanned the room before speaking. This hearing is to determine the custodial placement of minor Noah Cruz, age 13. She began, her voice echoing through the wood-paneled chamber. Mr. Ethan Cruz has filed for full legal and physical custody, citing parental abandonment, endangerment, and emotional harm. The court has reviewed psychological assessments, school reports, and direct testimony from the child. She paused. Is Noah Cruz present? Noah stood shakily. Yes, Your Honor. You may remain seated. Noah, do you wish to live with your uncle? Yes, ma'am. He's the only one who told me the truth. He saved me. The judge nodded, then turned to Celeste's attorney. Is your client contesting? The man cleared his throat. Miss Monroe is not present. She has waived her appearance. She is currently being held without bail in federal custody pending charges of fraud, attempted homicide, and obstruction. Noted, the judge said dryly. She turned back to Ethan. Mr. Cruz, I've read your record. You served honorably. You've kept a clean life since returning. I see that you're employed part-time and have received letters of support from local educators, community members, and your vocational supervisor. Ethan swallowed. Yes, Your Honor. I also see, she said, softening slightly, that this child is alive because of you. She reached for the gavel. In light of the circumstances, and based on the evidence presented, I hereby grant full and permanent custody of Noah Cruz to Ethan Cruz, effective immediately. Bang. It was done. No applause, no music, just a quiet breath from the boy beside him, and the echo of everything that had led to this moment. That night, they moved into Caleb's old cabin just outside Helena. Not the big house on Riverbend, Laneth, one Celeste had turned into a showroom. Ethan had sold that. The cabin had belonged to their father. Simple, wooden, smelled faintly of coffee, engine oil, and cedar. Noah carried his own box inside, filled with books, and a weathered photo of his dad. I want to put this on my desk, he said, holding up the frame. So I see it every morning. Ethan nodded, watching the boy move. Noah was healing, but healing wasn't erasing. It was living with the fire and learning not to be consumed by it. Days turned into weeks. The media eventually moved on. Celeste's trial was still months away. The FBI had officially opened a federal case against her, connecting her to the death of a former husband in California and the disappearance of Vance Keller. More states were getting involved. But Ethan no longer checked the news every morning. Instead, he made breakfast with Noah. They installed shelves together, rebuilt the garage workbench. Nico, the golden retriever, roamed freely, chasing squirrels and napping by the fireplace. Sometimes they just sat in silence, and that was enough. One Sunday afternoon, Maya visited the cabin. She brought a plant in a pot, something alive for your new beginning, she said, and handed Ethan a manila folder. What's this? He asked. A job offer. He raised an eyebrow. Not from me, she added, from Child Protective Services. They're starting a new liaison program. Veterans helping investigate at-risk cases. People who know how to read between lines. People like you. Ethan opened the folder and skimmed the details. Flexible hours. Regional investigations. Full training included. I thought I was just a welder. Maya smirked. You're a lot of things, Ethan. But mostly, you're the kind of man who doesn't quit when things get dark. He closed the folder. I'll think about it. I figured you would. As she walked back to her truck, Noah came out onto the porch with 2 mugs of cocoa. You okay? The boy asked. Better than I've been in a long time. Think we'll be okay here? Ethan looked out over the ridge. The snow was falling again, gently now, dusting the tops of the pines and blanketing the gravel drive. The house glowed warm behind them. He thought of Caleb. He thought of the fire that had burned through their lives and how it hadn't destroyed them, but reshaped them. Yes, Ethan said. I think we'll be just fine. He clinked his mug gently against Noah's. To starting over. To finally feeling safe, Noah replied. And together they watched the snow fall.